Hey YouTube, I got another video review for you today. This one's by a company by the name of LockNLube. This is their professional pistol grip grease gun. This is a model number LNL252. If you check out their website, I think this one retails for like $84.95. And I believe it's $25 free shipping for anything above $25. Don't hold me to it. Just check out the link in the description, and it'll take you to their website, and you can check out all the pricing and all that stuff. I just wanted to run you through a few of the features on this grease gun and kind of, just tell you about it and show you some cool stuff about it. So, anyways, just hang with me. The first thing that I wanted to show you about this grease gun that I just think is really cool is it has a swivel fitting. It's right here in the middle, and you can watch when I turn the hose, it doesn't kink up, it doesn't bind, it just turns. It's got that swivel in there, so you're not fighting the hose and you're not fighting the grease gun. You're able to put it in any position that you want, and it's not fighting you. Number two, this is the LockNLube mechanism that they have, and I just think this thing is so cool. What you do is you take and you just pull this down and stick it on your zerk fitting and let go, and you don't have to sit there and hold this on the grease fitting. And plus, I'm sure you're sitting there thinking, oh well, on the old grease guns like this one here, when you stick this little nozzle on the zerk fitting, you would always have grease that pumped out the side. If you didn't have it held on there and you wasn't sitting there holding it and pumping it, grease would just squirt out the side, and man, that just pisses me off, because this grease is not cheap. And so and plus you're just making a mess, and I'm like, oh, that's so aggravating. So this definitely solves that problem, so you don't have to sit there and hold it. It's got a nice tight spring on there, so it's got a lot of good pressure, so it stays tight. And so I really think that's a genius idea. Now, one thing I will say about this attachment right here is it's kind of big. If you're trying to get in some tighter areas, this old style grease gun is handy because it's not as big. So let's see, we'll compare them kind of side by side. Let's flip this around. So yeah, you can see it's a little bit bigger, but there's also different zerk fittings you could add and make it easier to get to. Like, some of them are 90 degrees and 45 degrees zerk fittings. So you could also change the zerk fitting. Plus, LockNLube has some different attachments that allows you to get in some tighter areas. And so, you check that out on their website. But for the, the average person, this is going to be great. It's going to work for you. And so, I really think it's a great idea. I can't wait to get out here and use this thing. So, anyways, I'm going to run through a few more features. Hang with me. All right, guys. One thing that always pisses a lot of people off with messing with grease guns is they get air trapped inside them when you replace the cartridge. And with these little $20 hardware store grease guns, they're kind of a pain in the butt, because you have to get a flathead screwdriver out and take that screw out, and it's real tiny to try to hold on to. And if you take it all the way out and you've got pressure on it, grease is going to squirt right out of that thing, and you're going to have one hell of a mess, and you're going to be wasted about a quarter of a tube of grease, and you're going to be trying to to get that screw back in the hole so the grease don't escape. And if you look at this grease gun here, this one's even worse. It's kind of like a recessed head screw that's in there. And so it's just a pain in the ass to try to fight that, where the LockNLube one is a lot bigger, and it's knurled. It's got this little knurling here on the end of it where you can grab a hold of it and twist it without having to use any tools. And when you take it on out, you can see that it has a nice little O-ring right there. There we go. And so that just makes it so much easier. And it's got a lot of threads, so it's going to seal up nice and tight. And it's just a cool feature. and there's like a little valve on top of it. Let me screw it back out and get a better view of it. There's like a little valve here on top. It's like a little one-way valve. So it opens up to get the air pockets out of there. So, you know, that is a handy dandy feature. I failed to mention a while ago on this hose on the LockNLube, this thing is 20 inches long, and compared to this other hose right here, it's a lot longer. So, and you can also tell the quality of the hose on this little $20 gun. It's really thin. You can tell the hose is just super thin. And right here at the end of the fitting, it don't have very good crimps on it, and you can see where the hose is ballooning right there. So it's starting to get to its, you know, its wear point where it's probably not going to last too much longer, where, you know, you can see on the LockNLube, it's a lot thicker hose. It's rated for like 14,000 PSI. And, you know, like I said, the swivel keeps a lot of the wear and tear down on this particular hose. So, you know, that is worth the money, because if you have to go out and replace one of these hoses, you're probably talking $5-10, you know, depending on where you get it at. So you might as well just go ahead and buy a new $20 hardware store grease gun if you're going to replace the hose. So, anyways, one thing about the LockNLube gun is they also supply you with this seal kit. And I love how they take it and they repackage it, so that way you can just take this extra one and throw it in your toolbox. So, you know, if you do have a seal that needs to be replaced, voila, you've got a backup right here. All you got to do is just rebuild it. And I'm not going to go into all that, but I just think it's really cool how they thought about that, and they go ahead and give it to you in the little kit. So, all right, guys, I flipped the grease gun over so you can see the other side of the grease gun, and I wanted to show you like a close-up so you can see just how well that it's made. And you can see right in here, this is all like probably like a cast aluminum, and it's really strong. You can tell the difference whenever you pick up like a cheap grease gun, and you can see that the handle is just a stamped steel, and it's real flimsy on both of these grease guns. And then when you pick up this one, the first thing that you notice is it's light, but it's super strong. And there's going to be no breaking this. And, you know, I do like the fact that it's yellow, because that way if you get some grease on it, you can see it real easy, and that way you don't get it on you. Where this black one here, you know, it gets covered in grease, and you don't want to get it brushed up against your clothes. Well, this one, you know, you can see that you got grease on there and you need to wipe it off. But I guess my number one feature that I like about this grease gun is it has this little fitting right here on the grease gun, and it's just stuck on there. It doesn't really serve any other purpose but to act as a place to take, and I'm trying to do this one-handed and hold the grease gun with my stomach. But anyways, you just take and you put the LockNLube, you hook it on there like you're going to grease the fitting, and then you just let go of it, and you can see that it creates like a little coil. And what you do with that is you've got a nice handy dandy little handle to tote your grease gun around, or if you want to mount this thing up on the wall. I mean check this out. I mean, you can just hang it right here if you wanted to. Man, that's a good spot to just to store your grease gun. I mean, that's really neat. So I really do like that feature. I think that's super cool. Plus, you know, a lot of you guys, when you're not using your grease gun, you just let your little hose dangle. And if this thing touches the ground, or if it gets dirt up in it, well, guess what's going to happen? The next time you go to use your grease gun, you're going to take and put it on your zerk fitting. You're going to squeeze grease in there, and then all that dirt where, you know, it's just been touching the ground, or it's got dirty, or dust has got in it. Next time you squeeze that grease up in them ball joints, or, you know, a bearing, you know, you're just introducing grit and dirt and dust up into a bearing that you want it to be lubricated. You don't want all that dirt up in there. So this really does help protect and keep dirt and trash out of that that zerk fitting and out of that nozzle. So I just think that is super cool that they thought about putting that on there as a handle, and you can see how easy that thing comes on and off. And I'm fixing to take it out here in a few minutes and use it, and I'm gonna make an updated video. And I will say, on a lot of grease guns, I've experienced nothing but mess with them. And to be honest with you, I think that being able to lock this on here is just a great feature. And you know, with these other grease guns here, you can see they're filthy. They stay greasy. They get trash up in them. You can see on this one right here. They just get trash in them. And you don't want that going back into something that, you know, you care about. So anyways, I always take my grease guns and I keep them stored in a 5-gallon bucket. I just take a random 5-gallon bucket and I keep them stored in there. And you know, it helps keep some of the dirt and stuff out of them, because I have noticed that the bottoms of these grease guns leak as well. And you can see right there where that little slide tube goes up in there, and you can see it's just oily and greasy. I mean, you can see it come off on my finger, and it seems to drip. If you was to hang it up, it's going to drip and just create a mess. You can see this one's just dirty too. And so LockNLube has created a product to help you out with that. You know, if you've got just a regular grease gun that you're wanting to, you know, keep the mess down. This is the grease gun barrel cap. They call it the grease gun condom. And yeah, I don't have to explain that one because it kind of does look like a condom. And basically, it does the same thing as a condom. It keeps all your your drippings from making a mess of your life. Just joking. But anyways, I'm gonna go ahead and install this and show you just how that this works, and you know, hang out. All right, guys, I got the grease gun barrel cap, the condom on, and you can see that it just slides over the end, and you know, it keeps all that grease that oozes out of the bottom of these grease guns from getting all over the place. So when you do store the grease gun, you don't have any drippage on the floor or whatever. And you know, if you're greasing something and you don't want it getting on your clothes, or you accidentally bump into it, this is a cool tool to, you know, to save your uniforms or your clothes or whatever you're doing, working in. But they also provide this little cap that goes on the end. Not that I would ever need it on this grease gun. It would be more handy to put on one of these, because like I showed you, you're able to hook the grease gun into that zerk fitting right there. So you really don't need it. But if you want to use it on here, you can use it on this LockNLube. And you can also put it on just a standard grease gun fittings. It works on both. And so those are some really cool products to, you know, to think about when you're looking at purchasing a grease gun. Now, like I said, this grease gun barrel cap, these two caps here, they don't come with the LockNLube Grease professional grease gun. That does not come with it. They're extra, but they're not much. They're really cheap product for as well made as they are, because this is a really thick rubber. I don't think you'll ever tear it. It would really shock me if you did. But anyways, one of their other products to help you out is these LockNLube grease fitting caps. And what you do is, once you grease your zerk fitting, you just put these caps on here, and it keeps all the dust and dirt out, so you don't have to keep wiping them off every time when you go to grease. I'll show you what I'm talking about. Hang with me. Alright guys, I'm back, and I just pulled one out of the package. I'm going to show you for demonstrative purposes, just right here on the LockNLube grease gun, how this actually works. And you've got that fitting on the grease gun. You just pop this little cap right on there, and Then you just fold this over, and voila, you've got a nice clean grease fitting, zerk fitting. Next time when you go to pump grease into it, it ain't got trash on it, and you ain't got to wipe it off, and you just pop the cap off, and you're good to go. So, man, that's just a quick, simple touch, and it, you know, it keeps all that trash down out of whatever you're greasing, whether it be a tie rod or a spindle on a lawnmower or any kind of fitting or whatever. You know, it just keeps it nice and clean. And you know, all you really need now is just some grease. So you know, I always like using different products, and the grease that I use is this SCHAEFFERS. This is their 221 Moly Ultra grease, and I just seem to like this, and it works well for me. I like it because it's waterproof, and so, you know, I can use it on tie rods. I can use it on bearings that's going to be on the lawnmower, because you know they're going to get wet, and you know, it just doesn't sling off like some of the other grease, and it's high temperature grease. So like I said, you can use it in some of those bearings, you know, like spindles on a mower, or you know, like an electric motor bearing. You can use it in there, and you know, it has a lot of useful purposes. This is a 100% paraffin based grease, and so I like the fact that it's super tacky, so you know, it doesn't get all over the place. And if you're greasing something that's fitting overhead, you know, it ain't gonna run down on you. It's just a real sticky kind of grease, and you know, it stays put. And so if you know, you're washing the deck of the lawnmower off, you're not gonna wash this grease off very easy, you know. So I do like that, that it stays put. It's waterproof and high temperature. So guys, I'm gonna wrap this video up, and make sure you check out LockNLube. I don't think you'll be disappointed with this grease gun. It has a lot of cool features, and it's just a really cool gun, and I don't think you'll find a better gun for the price that has all this to offer. And the LockNLube, the little tool here on the end, you can buy it separately on their website and add it to you know, if you've got a favorite grease gun that you know you just like, and you want to buy just that end, you can. I think they're like $30 or somewhere in there, you know. And you know, you can also, you know, buy these separately to put on an, you know, just a $20 hardware store grease gun if you want to. But you know, if it's me, you know, you get what you pay for, and I think you'll be very happy with this grease gun. So check LockNLube out, and you know, if you get a chance, check out SCHAEFFERS 221 Moly Ultra grease, and fixing to go change oil in the car, and I'll probably do another follow-up video on how this thing works. So bear with me.